right, so here we are back again. Let's have a look at these duplicants. I obviously am going to re-roll this one with bottomless stomach, which was unfortunate because I had sort of talked myself into keeping this skill. Basically, your most important skills to begin with are going to be digging, building, and researching. And here's why. You need someone who is capable of digging in order to clear the map and get resources. You need someone who is capable of building in order to build the structures that you need. Now, any duplicant can dig and any duplicant can build, but someone without those skills is going to be really inefficient at it. Furthermore, you also need a researcher, because once you get your basic living amenities, such as your toilet and your food production and your bedrooms up, you're going to need to begin to research technologies so that you can improve your duplicants' quality of life. And eventually what you're trying to do is get them to rockets so that they can get into space and off this world, or so that they can turn this world into a habitable oasis. So knowing that research becomes important, and knowing that you have absolutely no food production knowledge at all to start with, makes research your number one priority after getting them beds and bathrooms. And we'll discuss why later on. So we definitely know we need digging, we need building, and we need researching. So we've got Joshua here, and he's got some researching skill. He's interested in researching, which is important. That means whenever we teach him researching, he'll be happy. And he's got two other interests. He's got farming and tidying. And these are not too bad together. And here's why. When you've got your duplicant researching, you don't want him running off to do other things. So you want him to have other interests that are not going to constantly be pulling him away. Tidying is something you can tell him to go do or set him to do when he's not doing anything else. And farming is something that you can set him to go do when he's not doing anything else. However, if you put him on something like supplying, you give him a supplying interest, whenever another duplicant needs something, either your research is going to run off to go supply it so your other duplicant can keep working, or your other duplicant is going to stall waiting for this guy to supply. So you want to make sure, especially with something like supplying or storing, that those skills are not given to duplicants that have your high priority skills. Otherwise, they'll keep interrupting themselves to go help other people, and you will never get your work done. So these three are not too bad. I can set him to research when I want. I can turn off his researching and set him to farming when I need. And that means we might get food production up fairly quickly. Plus, he can help keep the base clean when I don't have him doing anything else. So that's pretty good. He doesn't have any digging or building, so he's not going to be of much help getting the base set up. But like I said, digging and building are something they can all do. He just won't be very good at it. He also gets an increased cuisine bonus when he eats something that he finds delicious. But if he's not eating good food, he gets a morale hit. So he's got a minus that's actually listed as part of the good stuff. It's not really. Oh no, I'm sorry. I've got that backwards in my head. A food morale bonus allows duplicants to receive morale boosts from lower quality food. So basically that means that the lower quality food will still give him a morale bonus. The increased cuisine actually gives him a plus to cooking. And in this case, I don't think that I would keep him because of this. Because he's getting an increased cuisine skill, but I'm never going to have him cooking because it's not one of his interests, so this becomes a waste. Which is too bad because the rest of this doesn't matter. So let's have a look at Hassan here. Operating and doctoring, he doesn't have building, he doesn't have construction, he doesn't have researching. So I'm going to need to re-roll him anyways, and we already decided because of his bottomless stomach, he's out. So let's just re-roll him. And to make my life easier, I'm going to automatically have this one try to roll a digging skill. So that means if I set him to re-roll digging, he's automatically going to have digging in some form. So now we've got a Steve. This is another new duplicate. And he's got a digging of 4 and a decorating of 4. That's actually not a bad combination. Simply because they're such different abilities that he will definitely go do decorating when he's not digging. He's not off trying to supply to someone else. It's not. I consider these kind of like primary skills, whereas things like tidying, supplying, storing. I consider those to be more like secondary skills, and they need to be done in order to support primary skills. So if you've got a lot of secondary skills, your duplicants are being interrupted a lot. This one also has construction. I don't like to put construction and digging on the same duplicant, because what happens is if you've got a duplicant who digs and a duplicant who builds, then one duplicant is going to dig out the tiles and one duplicant is going to come behind him and build your structures. However, if you've got one duplicant doing both digging and building, he's going to dig a tile and build something, and dig a tile and build something, and he's going to be stopping himself. And furthermore, this increased construction doesn't really help him because he doesn't like to construct anything. So I'm not going to want to give him construction skill because it's going to make him unhappy. So I'm going to keep re-rolling. Digging, operating, and supplying, I'm not even going to worry about because there's only +1, so we're just going to pass. Digging and doctoring, that's not too bad, but he's starting with plumbing. Actually, this one is not too bad, so let's discuss why this one is not too bad. All right, he starts with a +3 in digging. That's really nice. It gives him a 75% digging speed. And also, diggers use the laser drill, and that laser drill is considered a weapon, so people with high digging are also good at attacking creatures. Now, you don't have to worry about creatures attacking you. All of the creatures that show up in the game are bred for docility. However, some of them will create environmental effects you don't want, and others are edible, so you're going to need an attack skill, excuse me, at some point in time or another. So having a +3 in digging gives him an additional 15% attack skill, which is not bad. Furthermore, because digging and doctoring are so different, you're not going to have him digging and running off to do doctoring. You can set him to dig or you can set him to do doctoring. And doctoring is one of those things that once they've stockpiled a certain amount of medication, they really don't need to do doctoring unless another duplicant is injured or sick. So digging and doctoring together is actually a pretty nice combination because your duplicant isn't going to be interrupted all the time doing something else. He's going to be primarily excavating your base for you. He starts with a level 2 plumbing skill, but because he gets it for free, it's not giving him a morale hit, and I don't have to actually teach him any more plumbing if I don't want to. And this plumbing skill gives him a +2 to strength, which means if he's carrying things back and forth or he's ever putting anything away, he's going to be able to carry more because he's stronger. So that's not a bad support trait to have, as long as it's not giving him a morale hit, which it won't. I won't have to teach it to him. He's got it already. His bad trait is allergic to floral scent, which means that he's going to be stopping to sneeze, which can be aggravating, but you can work around it by keeping him out of natural areas. And when you get somebody with doctoring, which he has, you can create allergy medicine, and then that prevents that reaction from happening. Not horrible. He's a vomiter. As long as we don't make him stressed, he won't vomit. When he's stressed, he will vomit, but it's not like copious amounts and you can clean it up. So it's not the best stress reaction, but it's certainly not the worst. And then he's a balloon artist when he's overjoyed. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with this. I'm going to go with it. All right, we need to reboot Joshua because his cuisine bonus doesn't do him any good since I'm not going to teach him cooking, which means these traits don't help him at all. So let's make him our builder. And that's only a +4. We know we can get to a +6. I'm just going to keep re-rolling. Oh, here's building a +9. Medicine doesn't help. Decreased agriculture. None of this is really good, so I'm going to keep going. We could have a building and another doctor. That's a nice +8 with green thumb, which doesn't help. Let's see, what do we got? Building and decorating with agriculture again. That doesn't help. Building with medicine. Building with interior decorating. No. All right. Oh, this one's destructive. No thanks. We'll pass on her. Increased decor doesn't really help. Buff. increased strength. That's not terrible. Okay, so this one gets a +4 construction, which gives him a 100% additional construction speed. He's also a farmer, which means I could stop his building and have him cover the farms when building isn't critical. And he too is also strong. He's got a +3 to strength, which increases both his tidying and his carrying capacity. So that certainly helps, because if he's building, he's going to need to bring building materials back and forth with him. And the more he can carry, the better. He can't do science. He's got a lowered science skill, but that's okay. He's not my researcher, so it doesn't matter. And ugly crying, we can live with ugly crying. He is going to run around the base and he's going to decorate. So none of that is horrible. I think for the moment, we'll grab that. And then what we need from our last guy is we need some sort of researcher. So we're just going to grab a researcher down here. And now we've got researching and operating. Operating is machinery and researching is science. And he's got additional super duper hard digging, but he's destructive. So we're going to scrap him. Science with germ resistant, that's not terrible. We could just make this guy just a scientist and then he won't really do much help. I'd kind of like to see like researching and supplying maybe, because then he can be back up to these guys when he's not researching, and when he is researching they can take care of themselves, but maybe not. He's going to be germ resistant, which means he's going to have less chance of contracting diseases, so that's not a bad trait at all. And he's going to kill plants, but he's not our farmer. Our farmer is Joshua. So I think to expedite things, we're just going to go with this configuration. I would typically like to have 2 or 3 interests here, but for purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to go ahead and leave him at 1. He starts with a nice bonus, so he should be able to research things fairly quickly. All right, so we're going to embark and get moving into the next phase of our tutorials. And I'm going to go ahead and pause video here, and I'll see you in the next episode.